All my introduction gone waste. Anyways, so I'll repeat one thing. Why read Gita? So I'll start from here. It says, Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Let happiness prevail among all beings. Let all beings free from all ailments. Let there be auspiciousness in everyone and everything. Let me witness sorrow disappear. So you see here, this is a universal prayer. When it's saying all beings, it is not specific to a person, a religion, or a continent. All beings. It includes all human life, animal life, plant life, and every life on earth. Let all beings free from all ailments. So this is the prayer we are offering. So that's why all these texts, including Bible or any Buddhism, any literature, any esoteric scriptures you take, they're never specific to a religion. They're all universal teachings. So here, my understanding is all of us should try to adopt and learn these texts. I mean, fortunately, because I've read in a Catholic school back in India, at a very young age, from my 5th grade onwards, I'm exposed to reading Bible and Christian literature. And slowly my interest has increased so much. I pretty much read everything available in the Christian literature, whether it's Philistine or even the Gnostic Gospels, I've read it in detail. So when I'm talking about these Bhagavad Gita teachings, I'm going to draw parallels to the references in Bible. So coming to the Indian schools of philosophy, like I said, these are all universal teachings. One of my colleagues asked me, how can I become a Hindu? I've told him, you're already a Hindu. He was shocked. What do you mean? I'm already a Hindu. I don't practice Hinduism. So I told him, Hinduism is not a religion. Hinduism is a school of thought. The religion, right now people think of it as a religion. Even the Hindu, the name was not given to Hindus by anyone. When the Muslims invited from Persia into India, they called all the people who are beyond the Indus River. They have to cross the Indus River. They called them Hindus and it became Hindus. That's how the name Hindus came. Otherwise, until that point, it was never understood or recognized as a religion. It was never thought of a religion. Even today, it is not a religion. It is many schools of thoughts. Because when this schools of thoughts, philosophies, when written by the scriptures, Christianity did not enter into the Indian forum. That's why you don't see it here. Otherwise, even Christianity will fit into some one of these. Even Judaism will fit into this. All isms will fit into this chapter. So there are fundamentally two divisions. Nastika means atheistic religion. Here it's not exactly atheistic religion. It basically means those who do not believe. Again, the word believe is not wrong. Those who do not subscribe to the authority of the Vedas. So they develop their own philosophies. For example, what Vedas talk about is there is an essence, entity, a creator, a higher entity behind all existence. That is what the Astika means, existential philosophy. That's what it is called, Vedas. And there are some philosophies which don't subscribe to this higher existence. So, for example, Christianity fall under the category of Astika. means it believes in the higher entity, God. Whereas Buddhism doesn't believe in any God. It believes in nothingness. When mind reaches its state of nothingness, it reaches the what is so called the nirvana, the highest state. Same as Jainism. And the Charvakas are is another school of thought where they say you have only this life and cherish, enjoy, be happy as much as possible in this life. But that enjoyment, you can drink, you can do whatever you want. So there is no basically any restraints or any restrictions in the Charvaka philosophy. Their idea is just enjoy your life because this is the only life. They don't believe in heaven, they don't believe in God, they don't believe in sin, they don't believe in anything. That's another philosophy. See, if you see here, any philosophy, the Indian schools recognize, appreciate, and accept. So there is no aversion to any school of thought here. That's why there is no process of if somebody comes and say, hey, I want to become a Hindu, what should I do? There is no conversion process here. Because all life, even a frog, an alligator, a dog, a donkey, everything is a Hindu. All life is recognized as the creation of this higher essence. So all life is Hindu. That's why it is not a religion. It's a universal school of thought. In these schools of thought, many philosophies, came in, like Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and so many other religions, schools of thoughts, or even philosophies have developed over a period of time, and it's going to continue also. But these are the broad categories, from the ancient texts. And then the Astika means the systems which talk about this higher existence. And these are directly based on Vedic text. And when these texts talk about directly based on Vedic text, they talk about this Mimamsa. You know what Mimamsa means? Mimamsa means I'm interested in knowing. The one who wants to seek knowledge, that is what the Mimamsa means. So this Mimamsa again, these are like very elaborate texts. It takes one lifetime to even just read them, forget understanding. So the Mimamsa typically has about 20 chapters. So these 20 chapters are divided into two. It says Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa means before, and Uttara Mimamsa means after. So this Uttara Mimamsa include the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras means the aphorisms of the Brahman, the aphorisms of the higher nature. That's what it calls. That's what it says. So it's going to talk about all the characteristics of this higher essence. That is what the Purva Mimamsa talk about. And then after that, there are a lot of Vedantic texts have developed. The Upanishads are known as the Vedantic texts. Then also there are some independent grounds. There are Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisesika. A text like this, I'm going to read them in brief. It's almost a similar chart in a different representation. So within the atheistic religions, you will see, right? So there is an atheism and atheist theism. You will see, how many ways, there's so many philosophies have emerged on this earth, and pretty much all are towards, ennobling human life, making human life in a harmony filled and love filled. All of them teach the same thing, pretty much. And then there is theistic atheism, and then there's theistic theism. So there is if you see here under the theistic atheism, you see Tarka Shastra, Sankhya philosophy. These are like basically they created a lot of argument. So if you see the past history, each philosophy scholar can go and try to present their philosophy to other philosophies. And there will be an argument between them. Here the argument is a most constructive argument. So depending on who is able to provide a better justification, the other philosophy will convert into this philosophy. So there is like that, like when Shankaracharya, I'm going to talk about Shankaracharya in our next session, keeping the time in mind. He went and established a new philosophy. It's not a new philosophy, it's an existing, but it didn't gain any prominence. It's called Advaita. Advaita means two, Advaita means not two. That means there is only one existence. So there the philosophy is we are all one existence. Even though we identify ourselves individually, from a greater perspective, it's all one existence, means we are all one. That's the Advaita philosophy talks about. So here, the major schools, I gave a brief definition. I'll just go through it real quick. Nyaya is another philosophy, school of thought. It focuses on logic and epistemology. Here, Nyaya means justice. So a justice, in order to present a justice, you need to have the right logic and right understanding. So that's why it is called Nyaya, where it argues based on the logic, right? Aiming to understand the means of acquiring knowledge. That is what the Nyaya philosophy talks about. Vaisheshika deals with atomic theory and categorization of the world based on different attributes. So from this Vaisheshika, you will see there are texts like Tattvabodha, the nature of life. All these texts have emerged from these philosophies. And then Samkhya, it explores the nature of reality through dualistic concepts. So here, what is dualism means? It believes in Purusha as the consciousness behind all existence. And then Prakriti, matter. Matter here is, that means all of us. All Prakriti, all nature, all the planets, earth, life, everything is Prakriti. So it believes in the essence of the life, the movement of the Prakriti happens through the Purusha, which is the consciousness. That's what the Sankhya philosophy talks about. And it's the most famous school of thought. And when we read Bhagavad Gita, we are going to start with the Sankhya philosophy expounded by the Bhagavad Gita. But there are subtle differences. The way Bhagavad Gita looks at Sankhya and the way the Sankhya philosophy is taught. And then the yoga, like the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, emphasize on the practice of yoga to achieve liberation and self-realization. The meditative techniques. There are so many. I mean, once you talk about yoga, again, it's another lifetime of investment. Each of these philosophies, if you want to subscribe to, it's a lifetime investment. So, I mean, humanly, it's impossible to understand all these philosophies together. Once you get into the details of each of these. Like I said, Purva Mimamsa, focus on the proper interpretation and performance of Vedic rituals. That is the Purva means the before. And Uttara Mimamsa is all Vedanta. So when they interpret Upanishads, Brahman means the ultimate consciousness and the nature of the ultimate reality and the self. And all these are expounded in the Uttara Mimamsa. So most of the acharyas I'll give a definition of Acharya later in the next class. They focused on predominantly on this Vedantic text, means the end of Vedas. I mean, the end of Vedas and the new thought has emerged. That's what it means. That's why it is Uttara Mimamsa, means after. Where now the Vedas, it's not like Vedas have ended, but the new school of thought emerged. That is what Vedanta is really about. Then I just want to kind of explain this word, Bhagavan. But before I go into this, any questions thus far, comments, observations? Hope I'm not going too fast, but if I have to go slow, then it takes a lot of time to even cover 1% of the text. Okay. All right, you can unmute and speak. All right. So this word Bhagavan appears time and again. The loose translation of Bhagavan is God. But if you see in the text of Gita, it always starts with Bhagavan Uvacha, means God said this. God is speaking. That's not exact understanding of the text, but that's a loose understanding of common people. This Bhaga, Bhagavan, Bhaga, Avan, if I have to split that word, the Bhaga has about 36 definitions. You will be surprised. And each definition doesn't conform to the other definition. There is no relation between each definition. One of the definitions from the Shaivic texts, Bhaga means the female genital organ, female organ. So the one which this whole existence has emerged from something. So if there is a creation, so it's a creative force behind all existence. You can also take that meaning from Bhaga. So here, if you see one way of understanding Bhagavan as the one who manifested from where? From that higher essence. That is the meaning of Bhagavan. And who are Bhagavan? We are all. We are all the manifestations of the higher essence. And you will see this parallel in Gospel of Thomas, in the Gnostic Gospels. When, Gnostic Gospels expose the esoteric side of the Jesus. And in fact, in one of the statements given by Jesus, he's saying, I am also like you. If I am the Son of God, you are all children of God. He did not claim himself as a separate, special entity. But at the same time, from a very higher, state of consciousness, he did say, I am the truth, I am the way, I am the light, I am the truth, and I am the way. So this light is that higher consciousness which is within everyone. The truth is this essence, what we call the soul, Atman. Because there is no second to it. That is why it is truth. A truth which is something which cannot be changed over time, which will remain. It cannot be distorted. That is what the truth really means. And I am the way, because get to my state of being so that you understand what is that way. So these teachings are there in everything. It's the same teaching. So here, one of the understanding from the Vishnu Purana is one of the texts again. Bhagavan really means he who understands the creation and dissolution the appearance and disappearance of beings, the wisdom and ignorance should be called Bhagavan. If you see here, it talks about all of opposites, the creation and dissolution. So the one who is beyond all these opposites is what it really means. Understand means the one who is beyond all opposites, appearance and disappearance, wisdom and ignorance. So Bhagavan is essentially as all pervading entity. All right. So I'll take another minute to complete it and then we can disperse. So the Gita is an attempt at bringing together all the salient factors of the all schools of thoughts, which I mentioned here above. All these schools of thoughts. If you want a good summary, synopsis, if you want to understand all schools of thoughts, all that you have to do is read Gita. That's why we want to expound and explore Gita in our next sessions. So I'll stop here for any questions, comments, or any suggestions, recommendations. Please say it.
The Gita.
Who wrote the Gita?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
The book you buy, like from ISKCON or Artfulness Has One. Who wrote it?
Who wrote it? It's a very interesting understanding of Gita. Gita is, I mean, again, all these texts are oral tradition. Okay. So at that point, there was no writing. It's all oral traditions. It kind of came. But even I think at the time of Gita, they started the scriptures, writing and everything. And it's 5000 BC we are talking about. So it was a conversation between Arjuna and the Lord Krishna. He is known as Gita. Why it is called Bhagavad Gita, I already gave you the meaning of Bhagavan. It's a song sung by the Bhagavan. So that's what it means. And later, there are a lot of commentators who explained what each of the words means. And interestingly, Pre-Shankaracharya, who is 700 AD, Shankaracharya, who is the contemporary of Muhammad Prophet, his commentary is the only commentary available. There is no Pre-Shankaracharya commentary available. So Vivekananda Swami said, probably he is the original author of the Gita. It's a conspiracy. But according to the conversations with Babaji, with Lord Krishna, he did mention about Gita to Babaji. And he did praise. There is one of the commentators known as Balagangadhar Tilak. He is not a saint or anyone. He's like a freedom fighter, a lawyer. He said his commentary is the best. But these are in the words of Lord Krishna to Babaji. And but Gita, again, I'll go into it, the story behind Gita next week. So I'll stop here.